The rain tapped gently on the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 27th floor, streaking the city skyline with silver tears. Inside the polished, marble-clad boardroom of Vance International, tension crackled like static. Leather chairs creaked. Fingers drummed against mahogany. Eyes watched a digital clock as if it held the outcome of lives. And in the middle of it all stood Elena Torres. Sharp as a diamond and twice as unbreakable. Elena's reputation as a corporate closer was legendary. She didn't flinch, didn't fumble, never let emotions bleed into business. The youngest VP in the company's history, she climbed the ladder with blistered hands and guarded eyes. Today's meeting was supposed to be a formality. Final signatures, a quick glass of champagne, a billion-dollar merger between Vance International and Hawthorne Tech. But then he walked in. Julian Hawthorne. She hadn't seen him in 8 years. The last time, he had left her standing in a Rome train station with nothing but a folded letter and a heart like cracked porcelain. Now he was across the table. Older, colder, even more devastating in a charcoal suit and that disarming tilt of his mouth. "Elena," he said, voice low and velvet-wrapped. "You look relentless as ever." She didn't blink. Let's keep it professional. But her heart wasn't listening. It beat in her chest like it remembered things she had tried to forget. Nights under Tuscan stars, stolen kisses in foreign cafes, promises whispered in broken breath. The meeting began. Papers shuffled. Clauses were debated. But Elena could feel Julian's gaze on her, a magnetic pull she despised for its persistence. During a brief recess, he cornered her by the glass wall overlooking the city. "Is it really just business for you now?" he asked, voice almost a dare. She met his eyes. "Always was." He stepped closer. "Liar." She felt it then. The old heat, the dormant ache flaring to life. The war between who she was and who she had once allowed herself to be. "You left me," she said, her voice sharp but trembling. "Don't rewrite history now." His jaw tightened. "You think I wanted to leave you?" "Elena, you don't know half of what was going on. Because you never let me in." A beat of silence. The city buzzed beneath them, unaware of the tremor in her voice or the fire in his eyes. Julian's voice dropped to a whisper. "I never stopped." The door swung open. Their assistant entered. "They're ready for the final signing," she said. Elena turned, composing herself. Back in the boardroom, pens hovered above paper. Julian held her gaze as he reached for the pen. "One question before I sign," he said aloud. "What happens if I don't?" The room stilled. "Elena," he asked softly. She looked up, and in her eyes was a storm. The silence that followed Julian's question was deafening. Executives exchanged nervous glances. Lawyers stiffened. The CEO of Vance International, Robert Langley, cleared his throat. "Mr. Hawthorne," he said with forced calm, "are you suggesting you're reconsidering the deal?" Julian didn't take his eyes off Elena. "I'm saying some terms may need renegotiation." Elena felt her breath catch, half fury, half fear. She knew this game, and worse, she knew him. Julian Hawthorne never made a move without 10 others calculated beneath it. She forced herself to speak, her voice cool and controlled. "If you want to renegotiate, Mr. Hawthorne, you'll need to present a valid proposal, not personal theatrics." A flicker of something, pain, amusement, crossed his face. Then he leaned back in his chair, his tone casual but laced with something more dangerous. "Then let's talk over dinner." Gasps, quiet but audible. Elena blinked. "This is a merger negotiation," she said, fingers tightening around her pen. "Not a merger between people," he said, cutting her off, "who have a history deeper than ink and signatures." Langley stepped in quickly. "Perhaps we should reconvene tomorrow. Let everyone gather their thoughts." The meeting adjourned in uneasy silence. Chairs scraped. Paperwork was left and signed. By the time Elena made it back to her office, her nerves were on fire. She shut the door with a slam, pressing her palms against the cool wood as if it could ground her. A knock came 5 minutes later. She didn't answer, but the door creaked open anyway. Julian stood there, holding a small black notebook, the one she used during negotiations. The one she hadn't even noticed was missing. You always used to write your real thoughts on the last page, he said. Still do. Give it back, she snapped, stepping forward. But he didn't move. He looked at her the way he used to, like she was a puzzle he'd spent years trying to solve. Elena, why do you pretend we were nothing? She exhaled hard. Because pretending is easier than bleeding. For a moment, neither of them said a word. Only the rain tapping against the windows kept time. Then he stepped closer. I didn't come back to ruin your deal, he said. But I'm not going to sign it unless I know the truth. What truth? That I was never just a memory to you. She felt the air leave her lungs. Her walls, once steel-clad, cracked at the corners. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something she never expected to see again. The letter. The letter he left in Rome. It was never supposed to end like that, he whispered. Her fingers brushed the folded paper. Her heart thundered. But just as she was about to speak, her phone buzzed on the desk. A message popped up on the screen. Unknown number. He's lying to you. Ask him about Zurich. Elena froze. She looked up at Julian, but now his expression had changed. Something dark flickered behind his eyes. Elena stared at the message on her phone like it was a ghost whispering from her past. He's lying to you. Ask him about Zurich. Her eyes flicked to Julian, who was still holding the letter, his features calm, but she noticed it now. The tightness in his jaw. The flicker of something unspoken. Elena, he asked, voice soft. She snatched the letter from his hand. What happened in Zurich, Julian? For a split second, something in him faltered. She saw it. A shadow. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual polished confidence. You're going to have to be more specific. Her stomach churned. She had spent 8 years rebuilding the fortress he'd torn down. She had sealed every window, locked every door of her heart. And here he was, standing in the ruins with keys he'd never returned. I'm not playing games, she said. If Zurich means something, I need to know. Now, Julian stepped forward, but she backed away. Elena, don't, she said, voice sharp. Don't come closer unless you're ready to tell the truth. He looked at her for a long moment, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, sleek flash drive. This is what Zurich means, he said, holding it up. And if I give it to you, everything changes. She blinked. What is that? Proof of something that could destroy Vance International. He stepped closer. And your career. Her chest tightened. Why would you have that? Because I didn't leave Rome to break your heart, he said, his voice shaking. I left to protect you. He placed a flash drive gently on her desk, then turned and walked out, leaving her alone with a storm in her mind and a weight in her hands. Her fingers hovered over the drive. If he was telling the truth, this could unravel everything. But if he was lying, she inserted it into her laptop. A folder popped up, Project Echelon Confidential. Dozens of files, video footage, scanned documents, and one labeled Langley __ transcript.pdf. Her heart dropped. Langley was her boss, her mentor, the man who had believed in her when no one else did. She clicked. The transcript opened. Langley. She'll never see it coming. She thinks this deal is about business. Let her close it, then we bury Hawthorne's patent and take the tech. Elena's blood ran cold. The door to her office burst open. It was Julian, breathing hard. Elena, you're not safe. A voice echoed behind him. Cold, ruthless. Too late. She turned and came face to face with Langley, flanked by 2 security officers. Elena's heart pounded against her ribcage like it was trying to escape her body. Langley stood in the doorway, calm but coiled, the kind of calm that preceded hurricanes. His eyes flicked to the flash drive, still glowing in her laptop's port. Then to Julian. So, he said smoothly, this is where we are. Elena straightened. How long have you been planning it? She asked. Using me to finalize the deal, only to dismantle Hawthorne Tech and steal the patents? Langley offered a slow, insincere smile. You were never used, Elena. You were essential. You gave it credibility. That's what made the con work. She flinched at the word, con, but refused to show weakness. Julian took a step forward. If you try to bury this, the SEC will be all over you. The press. Langley's laugh cut him off. Oh, Julian, still so idealistic. Haven't you figured it out? Nobody cares about the truth until it's been sold. He nodded to the security officers. Take him out of the building and confiscate the drive. One guard lunged forward, grabbing Julian by the arm. Elena snapped into motion. Don't touch him, she shouted, stepping between them. If you lay a hand on either of us, this drive goes public. Everything. Emails, wire transfers, audio recordings. Langley's eyes sharpened. You wouldn't. Try me. For a breathless moment, they stared each other down, Elena's fury clashing with Langley's cold calculation. Finally, he raised a hand. The guard paused. Langley stepped further into the room, the mask slipping just enough to reveal something darker underneath. You've always been brilliant, Elena, but brilliance can burn you if you're not careful. He placed a small card on her desk, an invitation to the Vance Foundation Gala that evening. I'll give you one chance to walk away from this. Publicly support the merger. Smile for the cameras. Play the part. And after the dust settles, you'll be promoted. CFO, name your salary. She scoffed. And if I don't? He leaned in, voice ice cold. Then I ruin you. Everything. Your name. Your future. I'll make you disappear without ever laying a hand on you. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. You have until midnight. The door clicked shut behind him. Julian exhaled, rubbing his wrist where the guard had grabbed him. You're not going to consider that offer, are you? Elena sat in silence. The weight of the choice pressed down on her. Career or conscience, power or justice. She looked at the flash drive again. No, she said quietly. I'm not going to play their game. Julian stepped closer, his voice low. Then we're in this together. She turned to him, emotions swirling. You left me once. How do I know you won't do it again? He looked at her like the truth hurt. Because this time, I'm staying, even if it kills me. That night, the gala shimmered with crystal chandeliers, champagne flutes, and veiled smiles. Elena arrived in black satin, her hair pinned like a crown. Julian shadowed her steps. She walked up to the podium. Cameras flashed. Langley smiled from the front row, hands folded, confident. Elena opened her mouth to speak, but just as she took in a breath, her phone buzzed in her clutch. Unknown number. He's not who you think he is. Check Julian's real last name. She froze. Eyes on her. Microphone live. She turned her head toward Julian. Who are you really? The ballroom hung in suspended silence. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars over an audience frozen in anticipation. Elena's question, piercing, sudden, echoed across the mic and sliced through the elegance like a blade. Who are you really? Julian's face remained unreadable, but Elena caught it. That half-second flinch like a shadow crossing the sun. The message still burned in her hand. He's not who you think he is. Check Julian's real last name. The entire room waited. Langley sat in the front row, an eyebrow slightly arched, watching the cracks in her resolve like a vulture circling weakness. Julian stepped forward, slow and measured. Elena, not here, he said under his breath. Please. No, she said, louder now, her voice steady but shaking underneath. Not another secret, not another lie. Gasps rippled across the crowd. Cameras zoomed in. Julian's jaw flexed. My real last name is Grayson, he said finally. Julian Grayson. Elena blinked. As in, yes, as in Grayson Industries. The name hit her like cold water. Grayson Industries, Vance International's biggest silent competitor. The same company that Langley tried to sabotage 3 years ago in a corporate espionage scandal that quietly disappeared from the headlines. The implications spun like a cyclone in her mind. You were planted, she whispered. You knew about the merger, about Langley's corruption. You used me. No, Julian said quickly. I came to stop him. Yes, I had an agenda, but then I saw you again. Everything changed. You should have told me the truth. I couldn't risk it, he said, voice raw now. If Langley knew who I really was, he would have had me arrested or worse. You were the only one I could trust. And yet you still lied. She turned back to the crowd, hands gripping the podium. She had 2 speeches in her clutch. One Langley's PR team had written for her, and one she had written last night after uncovering the truth. She paused, a breath. Then, with a calm that masked the storm inside, she pulled out neither. She looked into the crowd, straight into the camera. "There's a truth behind this merger that none of you know," she began, voice clear and strong. "And tonight I intend to reveal it." Gasps, murmurs. Langley rose from his seat, his face taut. "I have evidence of corporate theft, of a planned betrayal against Hawthorne, against Grayson, against all of us." She reached in her bag and held up the flash drive. The crowd erupted. Reporters surged forward. Security flinched. Langley stormed toward the stage. "Elena, don't you dare." But Julian moved faster. He stepped in front of Langley, face to face, the shield between the man and the woman now threatening to bring an empire down. The two men locked eyes, and then the fire alarm blared. Lights flashed red. Smoke curled from the side entrance of the ballroom. Screams broke out. Panic spread like wildfire. Someone shouted, "Fire!" In the chaos, the flash drive slipped from Elena's hand and clattered to the floor. She dropped to her knees, but a pair of polished shoes stepped over it. Langley. He snatched it up and disappeared into the smoke. Elena looked up, coughing, eyes stinging. Julian grabbed her hand. "We have to get out now." As they pushed through the fleeing crowd, alarms shrieking and smoke curling like the secrets between them, one thing was clear. The war had just begun.